Hello and welcome back to Learn the Bible in a Year for January 16th, 2026. And today we're going to be reading through Genesis chapter 32 and 33, as well as Matthew chapter 12, verses 22 through 45, and also Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. That's the reading for today. And let's go ahead and jump right into the recap. Starting in Genesis chapter 32, Jacob is heading home, and angels of God meet with him. When he sees them, he says this is the camp of God and names the place Mahanaim, which means two camps. Then he sends messengers ahead to his brother Esau in the land of Seir. Remember, the last time these brothers saw each other, Esau wanted to kill Jacob after stealing his blessing. The messengers return with news. Esau is coming to meet you and with 400 men. As you might expect, Jacob is quite terrified. He divides his people, flocks, and herds into two groups. If Esau attacks one group, the other can escape. It's a smart strategy for someone who thinks they're about to be slaughtered. Then Jacob prays. It's one of his more genuine moments. He acknowledges God's faithfulness, admits that he is unworthy, and asks for deliverance from Esau. He reminds God of the promise to make his descendants like the sand of the sea. Jacob sends an enormous gift ahead, over 550 animals in waves. Servants are instructed to space out the herds, and when Esau asks whose animals these are, they are to say, "Your servant Jacob's. It's a gift for my lord Esau." In ancient Near Eastern diplomacy, sending lavish gifts ahead of meeting someone was a way to appease anger and to show submission. So Jacob here is using every strategy that he knows. That night, Jacob sends his family across the Jabbok River, his two wives, two female servants, and 11 sons. He is alone on the other side. Then a man appears and wrestles with him until daybreak. This is one of the strangest stories in Genesis. They're locked in combat all night, and when the man sees that he can't overpower Jacob, he touches Jacob's hip socket and it wrenches. The man says, "Let me go, it's daybreak." Jacob refuses unless the man blesses him. The man asks his name. Jacob tells him that his name is Jacob, which means deceiver or supplanter, a name that's really defined him since birth. The man says, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you've struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Jacob asks the man's name, but he won't give it. Instead, he blesses Jacob there. Jacob names that place Peniel, which means face of God, saying that he's seen God face to face and lived. The sun rises as Jacob crosses over, limping because of his hip. And as a quick fun fact, this is the reason why Israelites don't eat the tendon that attaches the hip socket. It is to commemorate this wrestling match that Jacob had. That's kind of fun. Now into Genesis 33, Jacob looks up and sees Esau coming with 400 men. He arranges his family strategically, servants and their children first, then Leah and her children, then Rachel and Joseph last. The people he loves most are furthest from danger, as you can imagine. He goes ahead of them and bows down on the ground 7 times as he approaches his brother. 7 prostrations was the standard protocol when approaching a superior in ancient Near Eastern culture. It's how vassals greeted kings. Jacob's acknowledging Esau's dominance, showing maximum humility and submission. But Esau runs to meet Jacob, embraces him, and throws his arms around his neck and kisses him. They both weep. The reconciliation Jacob feared becomes an emotional reunion. Esau asks about all the people with Jacob. Jacob introduces his family, the servants bow, then Leah and her children, then Joseph and Rachel. Esau asks about all the herds he encountered. Jacob says that they're gifts to find favor with his Lord. Esau says that he's already got plenty and that Jacob should keep what is his. But Jacob insists, "Please accept this gift from me. Seeing your face is like seeing the face of God now that you received me favorably." And after Jacob urges him, Esau accepts. Esau suggests that they travel together, but Jacob makes up an excuse that the children and the nursing animals can't keep pace. "We'll come slowly and meet you in Seir." Esau offers to leave some men with them, but Jacob declines, so Esau heads back to Seir alone. But Jacob does not go to Seir. He goes to Succoth instead. builds a house, and makes shelters for his livestock. Later, he goes to Shechem and buys land there. Jacob, still being Jacob, even in reconciliation, he's being cautious and I would call it deceptive. He's not ready to fully trust his brother. All right, moving now into what we read in Matthew chapter 12, verses 22 through 45. A demon possessed man who is blind and mute is brought to Jesus. Jesus heals him, and the man speaks and sees. The crowd is astonished, asking if this could be the son of David. Son of David is another name used for the Messiah. But the Pharisees hear this and say that Jesus only drives out demons by Beelzebul, the prince of demons. This is the same accusation that they made earlier. Jesus knows their thoughts and gives them a logical lesson. Every kingdom divided against itself is going to be ruined. If Satan drives out Satan, he is divided against himself. How can this kingdom stand? Then Jesus tells this parable about someone entering a strong man's house to steal his possessions. You have to first tie up the strong man, then you can rob his house. He's the strong man tying up Satan in this example. Jesus gives a warning. Every sin and blasphemy will be forgiven, but blasphemy against the Holy Spirit won't be forgiven. This sin is called blaspheming the Holy Spirit, and I actually do an entire episode about what blaspheming the Holy Spirit actually is. So you can go ahead and check out the YouTube channel or Spotify or wherever to find that episode if you want to go deeper there. And some Pharisees and teachers then ask for a sign. Jesus said, "A wicked generation asks for a sign, but none will be given except for the sign of Jonah. Just as Jonah was 3 days and nights in the belly of the fish, the Son of Man," meaning Jesus, "will be 3 days and nights in the heart of the earth." He is once again foreshadowing his own death. Then this sobering illustration. When an impure spirit leaves a person, it wanders through arid places seeking rest and does not find it. So it returns to find the house swept clean and put into order. It brings 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and the final condition is worse than the first. That's how it will be with this wicked generation. It's not enough to simply remove evil. You have to fill the space with something good, or worse, evil moves in. Jesus is making an illustration here that describes the way that the Pharisees live their lives. They call themselves righteous because they remove, air quotes, remove all of the evil from themselves. But what Jesus is saying is you have to replace that evil with what is truly good. And what is truly good? Well, that's only Jesus himself. Only a relationship with Jesus can actually subdue evil. All right, moving on to Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. This is the father speaking to his son again, continuing the wisdom teaching from chapter 1. If you accept my words, store up my commands, turn your ear to wisdom, apply your heart to understanding, if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, if you search for it like silver and hunt for it like hidden treasure, then you'll understand the fear of the Lord and find knowledge of God. The imagery of searching for wisdom like silver and hidden treasure would resonate in the ancient world. Silver mining was very dangerous, difficult work requiring persistence. You don't stumble onto silver. You dig, you search, you commit. Same with wisdom. The Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He holds success in store for the upright. He's a shield to those who walk in blamelessness. He guards the course of the just and protect the way of his faithful ones. All righty. Well, that's the recap for today. We're going to jump into questions. But before we do that, a quick word from our sponsor. This show is sponsored by Covenant Security Equipment. Covenant Security Equipment is a Christian-owned company that partners with building contractors who build with safety in mind. Bullet-resistant windows, secure transaction systems, drive-through installations, they have it all at covenantsecurityequipment.com. So if you are a building service contractor or you work with builders, go to covenantsecurityequipment.com and see what they have. It'll definitely be worth it. You can find a link to that website in the show notes, but you can also just go to covenantsecurityequipment.com. Alrighty, so jumping into the questions for today. All these questions, once again, are in the Learn the Bible in a Year workbook. You can pick up the digital version of the workbook in the show notes. There's a link to that there. You can also get the paperback version if you would like. That's the version that I prefer to use. And for today, question number 1, coming out of what we read in Genesis, Jacob wrestled with God all night and wouldn't let go until he received a blessing. So here's the question. What would change in your prayer life if you approached God with that kind of desperate persistence? Great question. Question number 2 out of what we read in Matthew, Jesus warned about the unforgivable sin, blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. And here's a question. How does this relate to persistently rejecting God's work and attributing it to evil? So basically, how does this idea of an unforgivable sin actually matter in your own personal life? I'm going to put the link to the episode that I did on the blaspheming of the Holy Spirit. You might find some insights there if you choose to. Question number 3 out of what we read in Proverbs, wisdom comes from searching for it like hidden treasure. And here's the question. How much effort are you investing in pursuing wisdom and understanding God's ways? Well, you're listening to this podcast. That's at least the beginning of the sign that you are seeking wisdom and understanding God's ways. So give yourself a pat on the back for that. And question number 4 for today, what is your main takeaway from today's reading? I really like what Proverbs said. I love the book of Proverbs. It's very black and white. It's very wisdom focused, so I really like that book in general. But I just love how it used the analogy of digging for silver as looking for wisdom. It's not something that's easy. It's not something that doesn't require effort. Finding wisdom requires persistence, and it requires seeking the Lord over and over and over again, just like finding silver requires you to dig and refine over and over and over again. Really, really awesome insight there. All right. Well, that's the end of today's recap, and I will see you again here tomorrow.